Let's go back and look at the Portland Trailblazers 24-25 NBA season. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and remember, if you see a mock draft and there are trades in it, it's going to be off the rails. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Hit a thumb, hit a bang, hit a double. Comment all down below. We've got more draft prospects that are coming this week. I think we'll do mock draft 2.0 this week. Should be. No guarantees on that. We'll see how the schedule plays out and what other draft analysts and team reviews we're doing. But that is all coming up very, very soon. As we're talking Portland Trailblazers in this show, just a quick shout out also to my man Brandon, who was in the city on the weekend, and he came up to me and said, "Hi." It's always weird when someone comes up and recognizes you, especially probably weirder for I was with my missus and at times with my son or with my family, and people come up and say, I think it's weirder for them, and they go, "Why are you talking to this guy?" But shout out to you, Brandon, for coming up and saying hi. If you ever do see me around, which probably you don't, but if you ever do, come up and say hi. It's cool. It is cool. It's weird, but it's cool. It's weird and like wow, really? I love it though. Come up and say hi to me. So shout out to you, Brandon, if you are watching this. What are we talking about now? Oh, we're talking about the Portland Trail Blazers. It is National Sunscreen Day. So slip, slop, slap? Yeah, slip, slop, slap. Get ready for the Blazers. Did they slap or slop? I guess they slopped a little bit. Let's talk about this team that we thought would be a pretty disastrous tank team. And they were, sort of. Not as bad as they've been in the past. In the end, they ended up with a 36-46 record. That's the Toronto Raptors music. And they've got pick 11 in this upcoming NBA draft, which I think they'll be able to get a pretty solid player. But one of the things I talked about with this squad last season is they've got a lot of good players. Now, do they all work together? Are they some of them overrated? Yeah, to both of those questions. But there's no glaring, gaping chasm in this lineup. Simons, Sharp, Kamara, Avdia, Grant, Ayton, Scoot. It's a lot of names. Plus, pick 11. They're not going to start. Are they going to trade guys away eventually? I don't know, but they haven't. Last season, they still shut guys down in April and March. The Ides of March hit old mate Jerami again. Deandre Ayton was out for the second half of the season. We saw these things happen. We've got to all remember that when we're looking at performances of players in context. Because we saw a fully healthy team at the start of the season, and the production from a lot of the guys on this team was very different then than what it was in March and in April. Now, that could all be clarified by them making other moves, but yeah, at this point, they haven't made them. Let's talk about some of the free agency stuff. Rayan Rupert has a team option. I wouldn't say that Rupert has done anything to endear himself to the front office executives necessarily to make him a priority ad, but there's two guys here who do have non-guarantees. One of them is the biggest guarantee of all time that will be picked up. It's Toumani Camara. He has a fully non-guaranteed contract. That will be guaranteed. Duop Reath also has a fully non-guaranteed contract. And he's one of those guys that the year before, people were getting excited about him. Oh, look at Reath. He's playing so well. But he was a 28-year-old rookie on a team that had lost depth at center, and then they brought in depth at center this season. So it never made sense that he was going to have this huge path to value. And it is always worth remembering that. I wouldn't be shocked, even though Reath has shown he can be solid. I wouldn't be shocked if, for cap reasons or trade reasons or whatever, that Reath is not on this team next season. We'll find out. Matisse Thybulle has an $11.6 million player option. He barely played this season. I'd suggest that he'd pick that player option up unless they negotiate that he declines it, signs a longer year deal for less annual value to help with cap and tax. This team is in the tax. Yeah, they're terrible, and they're in the tax. So, yeah, Thybulle's not getting that amount on an annual value moving forward, so we'll see exactly what they end up doing there. And then the unrestricted guy is Dalano Banton, another absolute silly season hero, Banton. We've seen it before. He can't get in the rotation when a team is healthy, but when they're trying to lose games, he will play. I thought he took steps back this season. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. but I don't think there's going to be a rush to grab him. And there are 3 guys on the restricted free agency list. One of them is Jabari Walker, another guy who's had some chances, hasn't really grabbed them. I would expect that he's back. And then 2 more two-way guys, Bryce McGowans, who barely played and then got injured, and Justin Minaya, who's been one of the legendary tank guys on this team. And this season, because they didn't tank quite as hard, we didn't see as much Minaya. And honestly, I think I speak for everybody. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We don't need that much Justin Minaya in our lives. So let's look at these guys. We're going to be talking about the players who are 25 and older on this Portland Trailblazers squad, which is a good chunk of their rotation players, but not all of them. So let's start with the Snowman himself, Deandre Ayton, who, I don't know, he's a tough one to sort of figure out for many reasons. One of the worst shot blocking centers, one of the worst free throw drawing centers in modern NBA. Honestly, even in NBA history, to be fair, like the fewest free throws that you'll see out of a man ever. He just doesn't do it. He's 27. He was the 87th ranked player this season, 79th in category leagues, where his draft slot was around that area. So the result was fine. But he played 40 games. He tore his calf at the end of the season and didn't play. And of course, they drafted Donovan Clingan. I don't know that they're going to be able to trade Ayton. In fact, I would suggest they don't. But Ayton's one of those guys, there are people who have insanely positive views of him, like, oh yeah, he just needs the right spot, he's awesome, 2010, cool, that's great, he can go shake hands with Jahlil Okafor over there. Or there are others who are like, he's trash, he's got to go, Klingan's clearly better, Ayton has no value to any team, which is also clearly false. So he's in a tough spot, and everything about this team, when we head into next season, it's just going to be determined by what happens through the offseason. Because this team is too busy. There are too many guys here. Ayton did take some steps back last season, but that rim contest percentage number, 9th percentile, is horrendous. Like, what are you doing? You are 7 foot tall. Put in some effort that doesn't involve shoveling your driveway. Come on. His DPM delta was pretty bad, 24th percentile, but Drip did like him, so it's in the middle there. In the end, he averaged 14 and 10. The 10 rebounds are very strong. A block a game and 57 from the field is also great, but he doesn't do anything else. He's not going to stretch the floor. He doesn't take free throws. He doesn't block many shots. He doesn't pass. If we knew that he was a 30-minute-a-night starting center and he played, 30 minutes exactly this season, then around 80 to 90 is a fine range. Will they be bad again? I'm not sure, but again, they didn't really start to get aggressive on sitting guys down until the end of the year. And Ayton was actually legitimately injured. He didn't get tanked. He didn't get fake injured or anything like that. So, is he still better than Clayton? That's a combination of Clingan and Ayton. Is he still better than Clingan? At this point, yeah. Offensively, obviously very clearly. Defensively, obviously worse. But as an overall player, and then there's salary demands and all that sort of stuff involved in it, Ayton is still, I believe, going to be ahead of Clingan. But is he on this team or not? That's the big question. That is really the big question. Let's go and talk about Anfernee Simons, who, I don't know, what's the best way of phrasing this? He exists? And that sounds harsh, I know. But Simons is there. He's played 33 minutes a night. He had 25 usage. He was actually pretty down this season in terms of production. But he's a 110th ranked player. You take him in those back rounds of the draft and you worry that at some point he's going to have an injury. But he ended up playing 70 games. He averaged 30 fantasy points with 19, 2.5, and 4.8 assists. He never gets defensive stats. He shot 36 from 3 only, but an elite 90% from the line. How old is he now? 26? This is him. Yeah, there'll be times where he could be a 21-point scorer. Would he be able to thrive on an Orlando Magic team? Sort of. Because they've still got 2 other high-usage guys there. How good is he when he's not in a high-usage role? Like, not that good. The advanced stuff, all thought he took a step back, and I actually agree with that. I think that was pretty evident in Simons' play this season. He still has pretty high load numbers, on-ball numbers, creation volume numbers, but not super, super high. Not the numbers of a guy who's the number one. And that largely that's because Jerami Grant was there, then Avdi was there at the end of the season, and Scoot was there, and Sharp was there, and a lot of different guys taking the ball out of his hands. So, look, the usage did pull down somewhat this season. He doesn't really, I don't think, have a path to being significantly better than this. His path was probably 2 years ago when the team looked to be really terrible, and we thought he'd have 29 usage and average 27 points a game, hit 3.5 threes, get 7 assists, and be a top 50-ish guy despite bad field goals. But he didn't ramp up like that. He's pulled back now, and I don't really see a team putting Anfernee Simons in a position to be in that high usage role, unless, guys topple down around him injury-wise to open up those opportunities. So, like, at age 26, You could probably expect numbers pretty similar to this for 2 or 3 seasons, but we're getting to that point now where the discussion needs to come out that is Simons' best role, like 27-minute Jordan Clarkson bench role. Because we've tried it as a starter. There's been some okay games. There's a lot of games where he goes missing. He doesn't rebound. He's not a big assist guy. There were times where he just didn't get to the free throw line at all during the season as well. And we've had the opportunity. We wanted to see the step up. It sort of happened, but the step up was more like somebody's got to do this versus I demand to do it. And I know that might sound like a nonsense statement, and I get that. But players need to take shots even on bad teams versus someone taking shots, looking great, doing it, and making a team better by doing that. And Simons didn't. So I think if you're in a dynasty type format, we've already seen a bit of a decline. I wouldn't be shocked if it stagnates or drops down even further from here. I think that's probably the direction or the trajectory that makes the most sense here for Anfernee Simons. And I guess we'll find out. But again, Scoot is waiting in the wings. Kamara is there. Shaden Sharp was benched during the season. They've got a lot of different options. And then there's whatever they do at pick 11, who again, I really don't think that pick 11 is going to have any shot of starting on this team. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever get in and check your bank account and go, well, where'd the money go? Where's my money? What happened? Where did it all go? Well, you're dining out. You're online shopping. You've got subscription services, entertainment. It can be easy to lose track of all this stuff. That is where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. We can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, and all of your spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. It's also easy to manage money with your partner. It's smoother than ever with Monarch Money. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right. Let's get into a few more of these players now. We've gone through Simons, we've gone through Ayton. Now it's time to go through everybody's favorite. I don't even know. Jerami Grant. The Ides of March. They got him again. He just will not play in April or from the 15th of March onwards. And I use the Ides of March as a funny reference because, he didn't play in March and April, but it does turn out that when you look at the 15th of March, that's basically it for him for 5 years in a row. And you know what? I think we all would love a situation where we've been able to secure this amount of money and we just can go home early for half the year. It's not half the year, but it's happened 5 years in a row. Now, if he's legitimately hurt, I apologize. It is a little convenient that he's had season-ending injuries that aren't announced as season-ending injuries for 5 years in a row on teams that are bad. Just coincidental, I guess. And he signed an absolutely horrific contract. Great for him, terrible for the team. And it's going to be really hard to trade him. But he's bad. He doesn't put in effort. He tries to be the guy that stands out in the corner and shoots, doesn't defend, doesn't pass, doesn't do anything anymore. His game has regressed in a huge way. The advanced stats don't reflect it as much. Drip does, 31st percentile delta. But he was 119th in category leagues. He averaged 26 fantasy points only, 128th. He's 31 now, Jerami Grant. He had an under 20% usage because Avdia, Scoot, Sharp, Simons, Ayton, all those guys are around. And think about this when you think about the Toronto Raptors. Sorry to bring it back to everybody's favorite team, the Toronto Raptors. But when you've got all these guys that have all this usage, it can't happen for everybody. You can't have Quickly, Barnes, Barrett, Ingram, draft pick, Pirtle, Dick. You can have Dick, but you can't have all those guys getting high usage. It is impossible to do. And you see that with Grant coming down under 20. You see that with Scoot barely doing anything. You see that with Simons' production dropping. And this is not a very good team. They just had too many guys who can do things put into a similar spot. Grant averaged a putrid 14 points. He is their power forward, averaging 3 rebounds a game. He did have a blocker game, which is up for him, but bro, 37% from the field, 37 from 3. Come on, man. What are these numbers? 0.9 steals. He doesn't contest shots. His offensive load went down massive. 50th percentile on offensive load. Time on ball, 45th percentile. The only reason you were interested in Jerami Grant because of the way his game has changed is you just hoped that he was able to take a lot of shots and be a 20-plus point scorer, but now he doesn't rebound, assist, doesn't steal, he got blocks, he doesn't shoot well. He doesn't shoot enough. He doesn't have the ball. He just stands around. I don't know what he does. And he is 31. So it's all well and good for us to sit here and go, well, the Blazers, they're going to trade Ayton. They're going to trade Grant. To who? For who? Who wants this? Who wants this contract? And that's the thing, because I believe at this point, in order to trade Jerami Grant, you need to give up something. No team is willing going, it's time. Yeah. All about Jerami Grant over here. Can you give him to us? We'll give you stuff for it. They're going to be like, hey, you want us to take on this absolute garbage contract? You might want to just chuck a little bit of something over there for us. If you have a look at his deal, he's got $32 million for next season, $34 million for the year after, and $36 million player options. $100 million over the next 3 years for a bloke to average 14 points and 3 rebounds and shoot 37% from the field and doesn't play in March or April. I don't know how they're trading him. And are they just going to bench him and sit him all year? Don't know. It's a conundrum. It's a conundrum, but I was trying to make a word out of it. Conundrumical. Conundrumical. Not real word, but you know what I mean. Because how do you deal with that? Where do you play him? Maybe he played 30 minutes tonight. Maybe this is the year that they say, and as much as you think that I'm a Denny Avdia hater, I think it's clear that Denny Avdia is a better player than Jerami Grant. I think that's very clear. But will the Blazers start Avdia over Grant? And just play Grant as 25-minute player? Because remember, that was Avdia until players got hurt. Denny was playing 28, 26 minutes off the bench. So does Grant become that guy now? One thing we know, there's no chance in hell that Jerami Grant is a 10 or 12-team fantasy league guy. None. You don't even touch it. Not even close to it. Not only can you not trust that he's going to be available, but when he plays, he's bad. And it could, and most likely does, just get worse from here. So yeah, okay. Honestly, just disastrous contract, disastrous season. Speaking of disastrous seasons, Matisse Thybulle, the painter, he had an injury to begin the year. Came in, had a setback, and then injured his ankle after the knee injury. In the end, played 15 games and 21 minutes. But the 21 minutes that he played were with everybody out. So even these numbers from Thybulle, and he still did his thing, like 2.2 steals is very clearly crazy. 0.6 blocks, he averaged 1.4 threes, he shot 44% from 3. Now, he also shot 47% from the free throw line, which indicates that maybe one of those numbers isn't exactly accurate. But the fact that he even played 21 minutes was because Ayton was out. Was because Sharp was missing games at times, and because Grant was out, and because Ayton was out, and all that sort of stuff. He might have played 10 minutes a night most nights. And like I said, he's got that player option. He's going to be awesome at deflections, we know this. 99th percentile in the NBA, that is what he does. And when you see Matisse Thybulle in a 20-minute role, you stream him in for steals. But I think he ended up 126th ranked player on the back of being a steals legend. He also averaged more assists than Jerami Grant and Deandre Ayton. But it happened in garbage time. It happened in a scenario where the roster opened up due to injuries to give him this playing time. And he's not going to have that opportunity. He's just not going to be able to do this at this level on a team that is healthy, or with the way the team is currently constructed. They'd have to make some consolidation things, and I don't think you really consolidate in order to prioritize Matisse Thybulle. Now, that might just be the case that he's just needed a little bit more. But the fact that Toumani Camara and Denny Avdia are playing those wing minutes and playing that defense role makes it really hard to see where Thybulle can fit in. Yeah, he's always going to be a good steals guy, but we just don't care. We shouldn't care. Also, as the transitions just keep rolling, someone else we shouldn't care about is the Rock DJ Robbie Williams. Now, Rob Williams had opportunities this season. Ayton was hurt, Klingon was bad, Williams started games. Guess what? He got hurt. And we're at that stage now that Robert Williams' lower body, knees, but also ankles and toes, we're done with it. It cannot be trusted at all. Multiple repeat injuries to an area of the body that gets injured through wear and tear, knees, toes, all that sort of stuff, is the red flag. If you break your finger 4 times, I don't really care. That's unlucky stuff. If you get a broken rib 3 times, it's unlucky stuff. If your knee requires surgery 5 times, yeah, you're rooted. You're playing basketball, you're a big man jumping up and down on a hard surface. He's done. In any sort of capacity of being anything close to a big minute guy. He played 18 minutes a game. He played 20 games. He had very low usage, but he still ended up as a top 150 player because he still puts up ridiculous numbers. Look at that, 64 from the field and 88 from the line for Robert Williams. He averaged 1.7 blocks with 6 rebounds. They're actually pretty good numbers. 6 points a game's not that good. He looked better than I thought he would be. But he's completely down in terms of on-ball reps now. He's not going for as many shots as he has in the past. Largely, I'm thinking injury-wise. And there's 2 other centers here. And yeah, they flirted at times with him playing at the 4 or Ayton at the 4, however you want to phrase it. And he still can be an impactful player. That's true, Robert Williams. He still can have impact. But no one is going to be considering this guy any sort of an asset. He's 28. None of us are going to be looking at him in fantasy. We'll try it if we get, if he starts and plays 20 minutes, you go, well, let's see it until the wheels fall off. Let's stream him in and see what happens. But it can't last. It would be a modern medicine miracle if he was able to withstand even 1,000 minutes in a season. Seems pretty unlikely to me that he would be able to get to that mark. Seems tough, which is unfortunate because he's had some unbelievable fantasy performances in the past. That brings us to the next guy we're going to talk about in this older than 25 area, and this guy is a lot older than you think. It's Dalano Banton, the 6'9" point guard who can't shoot, who doesn't play until we get to the end of the season when multiple players are injured. And he did it again this season. So he ended up only playing in 67 games and only 17 minutes a night. He's 25. He had a 24 usage, which is incredibly high usage. 8, but only 2 rebounds and 2.4 assists. That's 8 points. He had half a block, and he shot 39 from the field, 73 from the line, and 32 from 3. He was 85th percentile in drip delta. I'm not really sure I'm buying that one. His time on ball, 86th percentile, and that's the thing. He can only survive as a player, Pacific Northwest, Taylor Horton Tucker, as a guy who has the ball in his hands and then destroys that team by not shooting. He had good moments. There were people literally arguing last season, and I'm not saying that Scoot's been good, but Banton's just a better prospect than Scoot. They should be trying Banton. He's a better player. No, he's actually a terrible player who racks up fantasy numbers at times, but there's absolutely no longevity to it. He is tall, but this sort of a player with this efficiency at this height, who's bad in so many areas, who can only really work by having the ball in his hands, is the recipe for get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. Get ready to learn Qingdao Eagles, buddy. That's what it is. He is just not good enough for the NBA. He is a 14th man on a bad team who puts up numbers in April that makes you maybe go, is this the new Damian Bohr? Or the old Damian Bohr reincarnated as the new Damian Bohr? Maybe. He's bad. And I do think that we will not need to really talk about Dalano Banton anymore. Same goes for Duop Reath, who again had that moment as a very old rookie last season, and that's why context is always important. We saw the numbers that he put up, and it never made any sense that he'd be able to continue anything moving forward. And he averaged 8.8 fantasy points. He played 10 minutes a game, and he was the 433rd ranked player, and he's 29 now. He averaged 4 and 2. He shot 32% from 3. That's not terrible, but 42% overall from the field as a big man. That's yuck. His block numbers, not particularly strong. His contest rate, not particularly strong. Low offensive load guy. He is fine again as an emergency center, but he is their 4th string center. He is 29. It was a nice story. And he was in the right situation at the right time to get that opportunity. But I really don't think that Reath is going to be making any waves in the NBA at any point. Don't view that rookie season as some sort of building block for future production. Again, he is older. We are already in the decline phase of Duop Reath's career. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's in Europe or if he's back in Australia next season at all after that $0 guarantee if they decide not to pick that up. The last guy that we are going to talk about here in this show is Justin Minaya, who was one of those players, again, that we get into the dregs of April, and you see 40 minutes from Justin Minaya. That didn't even happen this season. They actually got too good to rely on Minaya. 26 years of age, 11 usage, 5 minutes. 529th ranked player, almost literally the worst player in the NBA. He averaged 0.9 points. 38% from the field, 20% from 3. Just numbers that make no, who cares? I apologize to Justin Minaya, but literally who cares? There's no value in him. He was a two-way guy. I don't imagine he'll probably be back on a training camp deal next season. Won't be there. Moving on from that, and we're done. Thank you for the moments. A lot of us will remember your name, Justin Minaya, but I think we might be done with that. And that they are the older players for the Portland Trail Blazers. Not a huge amount to go into with those guys, I think, because, again, there's just a lot of stagnation there. We're getting to the more interesting guys like the Avdias, Shaden, and Scoot, as well as Donovan Clingan in the next show. So make sure you are sticking around for that. Make sure you're slip-slopping and slapping, sunscreen on, and make sure you're subscribing to this show by hitting the thumb on the YouTube, and on Spotify you can do that, and Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you want to do it, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.